go over how my 2022 money is going to go. Or this is just my money spreadsheet, I guess, because I have my 2021 tracker over here, and then the 2022 is all set to go. Let me know if you guys want a link to this tracker or net worth tracker. And then I also have the yearly budget that I've been working on for 2022. So let's go ahead and get started and go over the budget first. I have to kind of pan out what my expenses are and what I can afford to save in other categories. Make sure that I don't ignore things like medical and dental or home. Electronics also is a good one that I love having because you never know. And then after I hash all of these numbers out, then I know what I have to spend, or no, what I have to invest into my investment goals. So for 2022, my investment goals are going to be a little lower than 2021. For 2021, I wanted to invest at least $30,000 into my own retirement, not counting what I invest in my for my parents or anyone else. I do additional investments into index funds, but those some of those funds are earmarked for, like, in case my parents need something, I can just cash it out and give it to them. So for my own investments, I wanted to do 30,000, but as the year went on, I just invested more and more, and it had to do excuse me, it had a lot to do with me having extra cash from the sale of my home in 2019. I did max out my Roth IRA in the beginning of the year. When it came to it, and then I was also renting out a room in the beginning of the year. So I got to invest a lot of money because of that also, and I had a lot of cash on hand because of that also. But then I went ahead and got my own apartment. So for 2022, I'm going to be a little bit more conservative because I don't have as much cash on hand as I did in the beginning of 2021. And I definitely always want to max out my 457B and then also my Roth IRA. After that, I went ahead and took the look at the possible inflation rate for this year, and I made this like random chart. So for 2021, I would have invested $27,000 to stay on track to be able to hit my financial number in 15 years, or maybe possibly even 20. I might work until I'm 50, I don't know yet. But ideally, I would want to put in $20,000 into investment every year. However, we do have to take into account inflation, so we don't want to be putting in $27,000 every single year because, again, inflation. So I made a little formula here, estimating inflation to be about 0.54% for the year 2021, and taking that into account, instead of $27,000, I should be putting away $28,000 and almost $28,500 basically. So that would be about 40% of my income being invested for this year. And then, of course, as the years go on, depending on the rate of inflation, then I would go ahead and change it here. For 2023, I estimated a rate of inflation of 3% basically. And this kind of gives me an idea of how I should stay on track with investing throughout the years. It can be a little, of course, if my income grows more than inflation, then I would prefer to invest more. But this is kind of the baseline, the minimum that I should be investing to stay on track and be able to be financially independent by when I'm 45, in 15 years, basically. So, with that being said, going back to my 2022 money goals, I aim to invest $28,500 for 2022. And the way I will be a little bit short, so I'll show you guys how I plan to do this. So hopefully I'll get a promotion by the end of this year. The change in income probably won't reflect until the beginning of 2022, but I just went ahead and put in $3,000, which is what I'm budgeting now and what I'm taking home now, the first couple of months, just to account for that. And then hopefully by March, I aim to bring home $3,500, whether it be because of my bump in pay or because of any side hustles or anything like that. So that's going to be my estimate for next year, about $41,000 in take home pay after taxes and other deductions. Cashback, I plan on getting $120,000, I wish. $120 in cash back in February from my Costco rewards card. They issue out the rewards once a year. And last time I checked, I think it's about 140, but I'm just going to leave it at 120 so that this covers my Costco membership for the month of 2022, which is why I didn't budget anything, but I still want to keep it on here because I want to make sure that I know that I have Costco to deal with. I actually also have my one thing I didn't list on here is my minimalmiss.com or minimalmisses.com website. The domain charged me like $240 every year to keep my domain, and I didn't budget that out, but hopefully it gets covered through a side hustle. Wink, wink. And okay, so that's my take home pay. Then I have to take into account rent. So rent right now is $11.77. My landlord did say that he would give me a discount after my lease is up in April, so lowered it down by $25. We put it in here so that we manifest things? I believe in positive thinking, but anyway, so I'll just keep it like that. And then internet is on here. Why isn't this filled out? So these are my housing expenses right here. Those are pretty much set. Utilities is my gas and my electric, but usually the gas is maybe like $15 and electric at the most $25. So I over budgeted for utilities. Whoa. But that's what that is. Groceries, I bumped it up to $200. I was budgeting $150 for 2021 for the most part. Dining out, I upped it to $100. Why did I do $200 in March? So I'll do $100 here. Maybe I should go over the numbers over here so that you guys can see the total. Yeah. So my car expenses are right here. AAA is once a year. Car registration once a year. So those are more like sinking funds. Car insurance is every 6 months, and actually my car insurance has gone down. The last time they charged me, the car insurance came out to be about $94 every month, but I'll go ahead and bring it down to $100 just in case. And then car maintenance $50. My car is from 2017, but it has fairly low mileage for, in comparison to other cars I've driven. Usually I've driven cars with 200,000 miles and mine has 30,000. So I feel like my car is new. Costco, again, I leave blank because I plan to cover that with the cash back I'm going to get from the Citi credit card in February. Spotify is my one and only subscription aside from Costco, I guess, and my domain. Oh no, and YNAB. So YNAB is what I use to track all my expenses all in one. You can track expenses, track net worth, although I prefer to track my own net worth in my own spreadsheet because you get to do all these pretty graphs. And then with YNAB, you can keep track of credit card balances. So if I didn't have YNAB, I probably wouldn't use a credit card because I used to get all confused and I would think I had more money than I used to have, and it was a mess. For clothing, it's $10 every month. I haven't spent a lot on clothing in the past couple of years. I have spent money on shoes, but that was only because I thought one of the vegan companies I liked was getting out of business, and I bought a couple of shoes, and that kind of raised up that clothing category. For my computer, I'm saving up little by little for my computer. I just bought one in the beginning of this year, but when this computer no longer works, I want to have enough to have on the side. And then that's why computer and electronics is separate. My home, so I do spend a lot of money on home category. I wish I didn't, but I do. I like buying. It's because when I had my house before I sold it, I didn't buy anything unless it was super necessary, and so I had no Tupperware. I didn't have a lot of stuff, and sometimes you just need Tupperware, I guess. Medical and dental, I plan to budget $100 into medical and dental. Mm, I was budgeting $50, but I really want to have a big buffer under the medical and dental for some reason. In the end, if I don't, actually, I do have an FSA account, and the balance on the FSA account is going to be pretty high. So actually, I'm going to put it down or drop it down to 50 here because I did up my FSA contributions. Toiletries is going to be 10 as usual. Mo is my nephew. I set aside $10 for him. Although here I should probably set aside 50 so that I can invest it into the brokerage that I have for him under my name. And then I also contribute to his 529 a little bit, just a little bit. Gifts is going to be $40. Giving is $20 a month. My parents, so I do like to invest a certain amount of money that's earmarked for my parents. And then I also like having or putting aside at least $100 out of this total into just like a general spending fund for them where I can buy good groceries for them, for example, and things like that. So I'll just put this in. Ooh, how did that happen? Spending, I'm going to keep it at $50. That's for any miscellaneous spending like books, makeup, anything else that I want to buy that's not covered by the above. With that being said, then I also went ahead and jotted down $500 for my Roth IRA. I want to auto invest for 2022. In 2021, I really focused on just putting whatever I could into investments, maxing out things and all that stuff. The only reason I didn't max out my 457B or try to max it out in the beginning of the year is because you'll lose your match if you don't contribute consistently throughout the year. So I wanted to make sure to get as much free money as possible with the 457B. But for like the Roth IRA, which is a self-directed retirement account, you could totally max it out in the beginning of the year if you have the funds, and I would recommend that option. But I kind of don't want to go crazy at the end of 2021 trying to gather as much money to be able to just max out my Roth IRA in the beginning of next year. I just wanted to relax and not invest so much in these end months, November, December. And I'm just going to auto invest in my Roth IRA and forget about it. Just treat it like another bill, and less decision making. I'll be less stressed. Like, how much can I put in my Roth IRA this month? It's just I want it the least stressful as possible, and I want to enjoy the end of 2021 and not have to try to save as much as possible to front load the Roth IRA in the beginning of 2022. So I'm gonna just auto invest for the Roth IRA, max it out for sure, but just auto invest. iBonds, I do want to add on $100 at least towards iBonds. They keep up with inflation, and it's a good buffer to have in case of an emergency also. And then into my brokerage, I am to invest $150 into my brokerage account. So if you see what I want to have, which is this one, my Roth IRA contributions, my I bonds, and brokerage, and 457B. That's gonna come out to about $28,000. $28,000. I'm gonna be about $500 short. Actually, because the I bonds, they're not really. I mean, they keep up with inflation, but they may not keep up with investment rates. The investment rate could be 7% on an average. On average, a 7% rate of return, and I bonds are stuck to comply or be adjusted with the interest rate only, or inflation rate only. So I should actually be aiming to, not counting I bonds. This is not counting I bonds, actually. Sorry if this is a little confusing. I'm just going through. So this should not count I bonds. That's, even though technically it's still kind of investing, okay? That's N33. Or maybe let's count I bonds, okay? I'm just kidding. No, let's not count I bonds. So I bond is N33. Take this out. So auto invested into the brokerage and Roth and my 457B, I have about $27,000 being auto invested. So I have to find about $1,500 more to invest somewhere, somehow. After all my goals, after all my goals, down here I have what will be left over. Ooh, and look at here, about 1920 is left over. So if I manage to stick to my budget, auto invest what I need to auto invest, and throw in on top of what my plans are here, I should hit my investment goal pretty well without having to go back and renting out a room. But if I did go back and rented out a room, let's say for $700, then instead of 1,900 left over, I'd have, whoa, 5,000 extra dollars. That's only for that's if my rent was $700. I've been seeing rooms for rent for like $800. I've also seen for $650. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I go back to renting a room? I honestly don't care that I'm 30. Um, I just don't know what I prefer, and I don't care what people usually think. So the only reason I would go back to renting out a room is to just make sure I hit my investment goal and even more than that. But I like having the ability to just have people over, like my boyfriend, my family, all the time. I like having access to the kitchen at all times, even though sometimes I don't eat, which is bad, I know. But most likely I'll just stay in the apartment. I am trying to move back down to LA, and if I do, then I'd move it back in with my parents and pay them rent and help them out in that way. Again, honestly, I don't care. And so yeah, that's pretty much how I go about planning for the year. This can always change, of course, but it kind of gives me an idea of where I can invest, put my money without having to think about it too much once we hit 2022. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see about leaving a link to this spreadsheet for the yearly budget and this net worth tracker. It will be free. So if something's off, just make sure to double check the formulas because just don't blame me if it miscalculates something, okay? Always double check. But thank you guys all for watching. I hope you guys liked this overview, and I'll talk to you guys later.